Welcome to the Double R Show, the podcast that features everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, directed and produced by Paul Robertson and hosted by the voice of Lincoln City, Roger Robertson.
The first person to make a return visit again and again is State Senator Dick Anderson with us on the podcast. Senator Anderson, thanks for coming back.
Well, thank you, Roger. It's my pleasure, and I appreciate it.
Now, the session has been continuing. You're in a process of, not winding down yet, but as you look back at what has transpired so far, highlights.
Everyone's there, working hard. Things are moving very quickly. A lot of excitement, negotiation, chess playing, dreams of making policy and having it go through each chamber are diminished for many because it just isn't time.
When you say just isn't time, because this is the short session.
Correct,
period.
and good point. This is 35 days mandated, and in order to get your bills through, or any bills through, you really, the first 2 weeks of the session, which have passed now, you should be out of your own chamber committee and onto your chamber floor. So that'd be either the House or Senate, because then they switch. The House bills will come over to the Senate, and the Senate bills will go to the House and start the process in those chambers. So there really isn't time to lollygag, so to speak. It's now or never.
Get with the program.
Get with the program, and things are moving. That's for sure.
Your big stick has always been housing, and I assume that is still at the very top of the list.
It really is, and it not just housing, Roger. Mine have really been housing, child care, education. I'm concerned about the quality of our education for the kids, and then the health care. But this session, early on, I think in one of our other podcasts, we talked about this session was going to be focused on housing and then the Measure 110 reform,
right.
The drug addiction and drug use. And that has proven to be where the emphasis has been. And actually, I would hope, as your listeners are hearing this podcast, that a batch of housing bills will have come to the floor and been passed.
Is there an umbrella bill that covers not covers them all, but is the lead, if you will?
There is. They're called omnibus bills,
okay.
And they are packed full of stuff, not just one topic or one policy, but many. And the governor's bill, I may have mentioned before, she has one bill this session. She chose to. It's a housing bill, Senate Bill 1537. I think it's 61 pages long, and it's broken into chapters or sections, and each one is a different kind of idea or motion ahead on housing. And to her credit, it is about housing. A little bit of homelessness, but a lot, for the first time, production-oriented new housing. And, that has moved through. There's been some modifications of it. I would hope this, like I say, by the time people hear this podcast, that it's been on the Senate floor and moving to the House chamber.
When you're talking about so many different issues with it, are we talking about everything from land use on through, I assume?
Very much so. Land use is a section, and that was controversial and modified a number of times to the finished product that's there now and will be voted on. Another one is a proposal for a revolving loan fund that cities can apply for, state-funded, cities would apply for, that are aimed towards housing. So where you could apply for assisting a development for infrastructure or some kind of gap financing for the actual construction, assisted development charges, anything to do with housing. And in fact, that loan then would be repaid by property taxes that are generated from the improvements. Much like the urban renewal funding.
I was going to say,
Very
it sounds
good.
like.
You guys are sharp here. Thank you, Roger. And the nice thing about it, it would be to the city. The city would make the choices, whether they want to do it or not.
So it comes back home again.
Sustainable and long-term, hopefully, fund that would be able to use over time, because the paybacks would be a 10-year or shorter time period, and that would keep that fund charged, so to speak. To me, it's very exciting, and it gives the control back to the local level and the funding, in essence, repayment back at the local level. So again, local government gets to decide how important housing is to them.
And again, it is based upon the growth of the property value, right? Not on the current value.
Correct. Well, because it'd be raw land now. So anything improvements would be taxed. The county assessors are very well acquainted with this proposal, have testified for it, that it would work. And again, it's not mandatory. It's just an option. One tool, for example, that could use.
There's been a lot of talk about Newport needing the dam, Siletz needing sewer improvements, Depot Bay with the bayfront. Where are all of these things? All within that bill as well?
No.
Okay.
There's another bill. It's 1530, and that would have a lot of funding in it. Some for what you've named. Others, the funding bill would have also some projects in it that have been proposed by cities and legislators. So you've named some of the ones that I saw on the list. Certainly in our area, Siletz, who needs I think, an improvements to their water treatment plant. Toledo, I forgot what they needed, but different communities up and down.
Big projects.
Big projects. Even Lincoln City has some in there, up and down the coast, all over the state. And one of the hard parts is really making choices, because there's never enough money, quite honestly, and it was oversubscribed with ideas. So trying to find some equality for disbursement across the state and small communities that would just plain have a hard time doing it themselves, having to raise taxes, do a bond, this kind of stuff, and just can't afford it.
Our guest is State Senator Dick Anderson. We'll take a break, and when we return, we'll talk a little bit more about the last couple of weeks forthcoming with the state legislature. If you're looking for great early garden fresh produce, it's Kenny's IGA in the Bay Area of Lincoln City. 4 generations of Morgans caring for your every grocery need. All of your favorite beverages, a full deli, meat, produce, and of course, groceries.
Northwest Septic Service is your one-stop shop for all your septic needs.
Northwest Septic Service offers pumping, maintenance, repair, and inspections with one call, 541-994-6977.
Buying or selling a home? Northwest Septic Service can inspect your sewer line or an entire septic system.
Old or failing septic system? Northwest Septic Service can rejuvenate most drain fields, saving you thousands of dollars. 541-994-6977.
Serving Lincoln, Tillamook, and Yamhill counties, Northwest Septic Service.
I'm Adina Zeller. Zellers is now in 2 North Lincoln County locations. The original Zellers in Rose Lodge and now Zellers in Lincoln City, formerly Maxwell's. Zellers with great family food and kickin' fun like our line dancing. Just wait until you try our homemade clam chowder.
Saturday night, March 2nd, be at Chinook Winds Casino Resort as we welcome American country music singer-songwriter Ingrid Andress. Tickets start at $40 and are on sale now at the Chinook Winds box office. By phone at 888-MAIN-ACT or at ChinookWinds.com. Ingrid Andress. One show only Saturday, March 2nd at Chinook Winds Casino Resort in Lincoln City, where concerts are better at the beach.
We return with State Senator Dick Anderson, our guest on this week's podcast. Senator Anderson, what's still left on the table?
Well, let's say, Roger, thank you again for having me. I appreciate it. I always like to say citizens are never safe until we leave. So
that's pretty honest.
But in all honesty, it's gone well. The leadership has kept their word to focusing on housing and what's called Measure 110 reform. And as your listeners may recall, that has to do with the addiction issue and decriminalizing drug use, trying to get people into treatment. And, we're in the midst, almost done with the short session, 35 days, negotiations going on. I'm hoping as you hear this, we've already put housing to bed,
Sure.
and with good stuff, focusing now on the Measure 110 reform. I'm hoping personally that there'll be a level of criminalization brought back in, because what we've found over time is not enough people simply raise their hand for reform or for treatment once they've been addicted. And I think the theory has gone on, though not everybody agrees, there needs to be a time of clearing the body and mind of an individual that's addicted so they can make a choice. And that's been the difficulty. Where can they do that safely and in supportive environments? But I would hope now that we can move on with the treatment of folks that are addicted, that spend more time going after the folks who are actually the dealers, not necessarily the users. I personally would like harder treatment on dealers, people caught dealing, because to me it's no different than holding a gun to someone's head.
Probably even more damaging.
It is very damaging to the individual and the families and the community at large. So I'm hoping that's where we are at this point. There's been a lot of negotiation, hasn't come easy. Both camps, both parties, and even inside the individual parties.
A lot of discussion.
A lot of discussion. So it's
that
been
to
tough.
me has been the real key for the session. It seems to me, as a observer on the outside, there at least is negotiations. Yeah, I've heard you use that word now, I don't know how many different times in this short broadcast. Is there the negotiations going on, or am I in a fantasy world?
No, you're not. Fortunately, I don't know, negotiations, collaboration, talking, all those things have gone on, and in, I think, good faith. Certainly, it's a chess game. Everybody's got an opinion, and they want to move theirs forward. But I think at the end of the day, people really do, want a positive outcome, want something to change that, moves us forward in our, statewide community. And I feel good. Like you have observed, there a lot of discussion after hours. Some late night, gatherings, official, to kind of beat it out. A lot of advocates, groups, and have made, I think, real good progress. I think when we come back for the long session, there'll be some, reporting. Hopefully, some of these things will be implemented, and we'll be recognizing some changes. As an offshoot, right here in Lincoln County, the Samaritan Health, the STARS program, trying to get some, treatment, residential treatment in our own community is a positive outcome. Our folks that are addicted don't have to go to Baker City or Corvallis or something else for treatment. So I think we're making progress. It may be a bite size, but we're moving ahead in the right direction.
You are finding more collaboration, as we talked about before, and why is it? Because it is the short session.
I'm not sure, Roger, that everybody would say the same. I can only speak for myself. I feel more collaboration because I've been involved in more. I've certainly in my time, my 4 years, 4 sessions now, I'm at the table on many issues. I'm invited in early, and they're not necessarily, Republican issues or party issues.
But this is something that you did as mayor of Lincoln City as well.
You're exactly right, and good observation. And I think my peers have recognized that, and that's why I'm at the table. Interesting.
Daylight savings time, standard time, where is that issue?
I wish I could tell you. It's funny, with all the crises we have in the state, for that issue, it fills up my email box with opinions. And I've found that, you can't please everybody. It's stay the same, and that would be standard time changing to daylight, the changes. Go strictly with daylight time, change to that, which we've tried and waiting for Congress to act, or stay standard. So those three options. And I'll tell you, my email is split. So I take polls at home and coffees and everything else to try to figure out and listen to why somebody wants one or the other.
Is it because people can weigh in on an issue like that doesn't take, well, I shouldn't say doesn't take a lot of thought, but it's easy to come up with an opinion?
I have found there's not a lot of science shared, and it is an opinion. It's how they feel, and either they're frustrated and maybe physically, mentally feel impacted with the changes, and so they just like to stay one time. Then you have that debate, okay, which one? And that's where it gets into, are you a morning person or a night person?
We'll have Senator Dick Anderson back with us after the session is completed for a recap of what has taken place in the last short period of time.
At this point, it's a real short time.
All right, Senator Dick Anderson.
We at La Roca are proud of our food, but don't take our word for it. Read the reviews. One person wrote, the service was friendly and efficient. Another writes, La Roca has become one of our favorites because it's authentic Mexican food.
Wouldn't it be great to have all your insurance needs handled by one agency? This is Charlotte Lato with Farmers Insurance and the Insurance Store. Visit our office next to the Wildflower Grill in Lincoln City. Let us be your one stop for your personal, commercial, health, and Medicare insurance needs.
Add to your personal library today with a book from Bob's Beach Books in the Ocean Lake area of Lincoln City. I'm Diana Portwood, and books provide a world of discovery. From science to science fiction, read what you've been missing.
On your feet, on your knees, Blue Oyster Cult is back, live. Saturday, March 9th at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. The red and the black is back. BOC. All the hard rock anthems. Joan Crawford has risen from the grave. Of Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. Saturday, March 9th at Chinook Winds Casino Resort. Tickets on sale now at ChinookWinds.com. Chinook Winds box office or by phone at 1-888-MAIN-ACT. Feel the thunder of Blue Oyster Cult. Chinook Winds, where concerts are better at the beach.
Our next guest on the Double R podcast is County Commissioner for Lincoln County, Kaety Jacobson. Welcome, Katy.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I am pleased that you come up. You come up there for the Chamber of Commerce luncheon, which ran a little long.
But we all made it.
Yeah,
here.
But the good information about being prepared would really be the theme of that Chamber luncheon.
Yeah, and timely because of the ice storm we just had earlier this month. I think it's good for everyone to think about what they could have done different, what they should have done different, and what they want to do different for the next event we may have.
Now, I know, speaking of events during the Otis firestorm, if you will, you spent a lot of time in the Otis area.
I did, and I still do, still really leading up the wildfire recovery efforts for the Echo Mountain fire 3.5 years later.
What kind of things happen or are happening?
Yeah, so some things that the county is still working up there. We still have a septic and well water replacement program. So we provide, through federal funding, we provide free septic and well testing and then replacement or repair if needed. And we still have some money from Oregon Housing and Community Services where we're actually purchasing homes that have been rebuilt in the area and then giving them to Habitat for Humanity, and Habitat sells them back to fire survivors for home ownership opportunities that are affordable. So we have that going on. We also have a bunch of infrastructure money that we're still waiting on coming in from the federal government as well that will do some projects. There's also a very large water project that we're not doing, but we got the money for it for Panther Creek Water District. So there's still a lot of infrastructure and housing projects still happening up there.
How can somebody access that is in need?
So the well water and septic replacement program are both on our website, on the Lincoln County website. You can Google it, will come up. Our program is temporarily on pause as we work to catch up and not backload all of our septic providers, but the application is still there and we have a wait list.
So, and then on the housing, that goes to Habitat for Humanity.
So you can go ahead and reach out to Lucinda Taylor, who's the Lincoln County Habitat for Humanity Director, and she maintains a list of people that are wildfire survivors and interested in home ownership opportunities.
Right now, I would have to think that you're looking towards a new budget period or beginning the budget process, correct?
For the county, correct.
For the county.
Mm-hmm.
And where is that process at this point in time?
At this point in time, we also do not have a finance director right now, so that kind of threw us for a little bit of a loop. So we have some temporary help coming in to help us through this process. I believe we are in process of setting all of our public meetings for that budget process. We've made sure we have all of our budget committee members, which sometimes people, resign or what have you. So we are close to really, I guess, launching that process and kind of getting all the pieces in place now. It really starts in full swing in about April.
Budget committee is made up of the 3 county commissioners and
then 3 additional citizen members.
Okay, at large from
at large.
County.
Yep.
Okay. Any things coming up in that budget that is striking you or you want to propose?
There's nothing striking at this point. I will say, though, as we get into 5 different employee groups that we have to negotiate with, really what happens in those negotiations has a lot to do with what our budget is going to look like. Right? And so there's still a lot of unknowns as we're working through some of those negotiations on how that's going to impact our budget.
So will all of those negotiations, those new contracts, be set prior to the new budget? Is that what you're telling me?
In a perfect process. That is what would happen. Okay. That isn't always what happens. At least since I've been a commissioner, we've had times where we've had to go back and do an amendment process because things take longer or we go to arbitration or whatever. But in a perfect process, yes, we would know that before we set our budget and before the new fiscal year.
Now, you've been a county commissioner for how long?
5 years.
Enjoying it still?
I mean, it's a hard job. I'm not going to lie. It's a really hard job. But yeah, I enjoy it. I definitely enjoy the parts where I feel like you get to move important things for the community forward. I mean, that's the stuff that keeps you going when it's rough, is knowing that you got to help your community and you got to help move things forward that maybe wouldn't have moved forward if you weren't there.
Biggest, proudest moment that you might have had so far in your county commission days?
Oh, fire recovery.
Okay.
Like 100%. Buying houses for survivors and, redoing almost 300 septic systems, all of that stuff. Paying for trauma-informed summer camp for kids that were fire survivors. Big stuff, little stuff. Fire recovery absolutely was the most rewarding part.
Things that you'd like to see happen?
I think that, the county and all of our cities need to continue to get a grasp on, housing and homelessness, mental health issues, all of that kind of stuff. I'm really proud of the plan that Lincoln County, working with all of our cities, did together the housing and homelessness plan, which I think the city of Lincoln City adopted last night, is my understanding, and several other cities has or are going to. So I think taking that plan, not letting it sit on a shelf, which often happens to plans, and starting to implement that will be a really big thing for our community.
All right. County Commissioner Kaety Jacobson, any closing comments you'd like to make?
Oh, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming up. And again, Katy was at the Chamber of Commerce luncheon today, and communications is the word, is it not?
Absolutely, yeah.
And we need to communicate with the people on all levels. Kaety Jacobson, County Commissioner, back in a moment.
Greetings, this is Marnie Whipple with Holland America Line, and it is a real pleasure to be joining Roger and the team at Always Traveling. Today we have selected 2 really special voyages that cover Europe, and the first one is part of our legendary journeys. Now, we have 11 ships cruising the 7 seas and many cruises that vary in length from 7 days all the way up to 133. but we've narrowed it down to 2 of these really popular but interesting, very interesting. The first is a 35-day voyage of the Vikings. It's round trip from Boston, really easy for airlift, so you just need to fly within the domestic part of North America here. So from Boston, we will go in a really interesting path through Nova Scotia, stopping in Sydney, St. John's. We'll travel through parts of Iceland, including Reykjavik, Akureyri, and I hope I'm saying it correctly there. And we'll then head over to Oslo, which we have a really rich connection, so many of us, with our Scandinavian heritage. So that's my number 1 pick, is the 35-day voyage of the Vikings. That leaves July 20th of 2024. Or if you're already planning your 2025 journeys, we have a really interesting itinerary on October 7th. That's round trip from New York, stopping in some marquee ports as well as some lesser-known ports. So it's quite a mix. That 45-day voyage includes places like Ponta Delgada, also stopping through Valletta and Crete, going through the Straits of Gibraltar, heading into Kushadashi, which of course is a wonderful stop to be able to explore Ephesus, on to Istanbul, Napoli, and my favorite city, and there are a few more on this itinerary, but just a quick highlight, stopping in Barcelona. And make sure, a little inside tip for you there, in Barcelona, there's a wonderful little restaurant at the end of the pier. And Los Ramblas, of course, is interesting with its incredible food market. So everywhere we go, there's neat stops along the way, and Roger and the team will help you choose the itinerary for your dreams for Europe. Thanks for choosing Holland America and working with Roger and the team at Always Traveling.
As we conclude our podcast, we always bring to light a number of activities taking place in and around the Lincoln City community and organizations that are doing good things for the benefit of the community, like Meals on Wheels. Meals on Wheels is a program that's run out of the community center, the kitchen, meeting room. Volunteers are needed Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays for a variety of jobs, including delivery of food to shut-in people. So if you can help out, please call 541-994-7731. Again, that phone number, 994-7731. Meals on Wheels needs you, and a number of people need Meals on Wheels. Pearls of Wisdom, an evening at the college, Saturday, March 2nd at 5 o'clock. Learn about the innovative college programs. Your wife, my daughter-in-law, Allison Robertson, is on the board of directors of the community college.
Yeah, the Board of Education. She's been there for, I think, 7 years now. So
shop online with the Lincoln City Chamber of Commerce virtual super auction, March 20 through 27 at the Chamber Luncheon. We heard of a number of items coming up for bid. Charlotte from Farmers Insurance Agency has got a $1,000 item she's going to put on the auction block.
yeah, it sounded like an opportunity for Coasties to get to the valley, I think it was. So in reverse, normally you're auctioning off hotel stays locally, so it's kind of an opportunity for locals to bid on something for themselves.
Something else that you're actively involved in is fish painting?
Fish printing.
Printing,
yes.
not painting, printing.
Gyo-taku, yeah.
Tell me about that.
It's a Japanese art form, and we're lucky enough to have in the midst of the Cascade Head Biosphere Collaborative an expert nature printer, and that's Duncan Barry, and he's going to be putting on a master class. And so unlike our traditional hour-and-a-half long, 2-hour, 3-hour long class, this is a 6-hour event at the Pelican.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it's going to be March 16th from 11 to 5. There are only, as we speak, I think 6 or 7 spots left. So if you want to register, go to cascadehead.org and check the events page.
People are really into this, aren't they?
It's really fabulous. Yeah. You know, in a short order, you come out with some great, great prints. And then with this masterclass, those people can dive a little deeper and just really expand their own talents with this folk art.
And the art becomes theirs?
Oh, it's 100%. Yeah, they're going home with it. Something to put on the wall, something to give to friends and family, and to tell the story about the species that are there. So that's really the heart of this program, is to talk about marine reserves and the fish and the seaweed that are part of that marine reserve and why that's important to us.
Some of the other meetings upcoming in Lincoln City for the month of March. On March 5, we got the Planning Commission in the regular meeting time. March 6th, the library board meets at 3:30. On Monday, March 11th at 6 o'clock, City Council meeting, regular meeting, and then the Public Arts Committee meets on March 13th at 4 o'clock. So all of those meetings are open to the public as well. And if you'd like to testify in front of the City Council, this is your opportunity. Get there early, sign in, and let them know that you would like to address the council, and it's done.
Yeah, and it's a good format. It's easy to do. Just go up, sign in, and you'll get your 3 minutes in front of the mic and on camera for all people to hear and see about your concerns or applauses to be had for the city.
The foundation for the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation, I keep saying that the Willamette Valley Cancer Foundation, that's really a misnomer because these people raise a lot of money in Lincoln County, but they spend a lot of money in Lincoln County, in particular in Lincoln City. Nancy Oxenholt is actively involved in this group, but they're going to have a golf tournament. The golf tournament's going to be at Chinook Winds Casino Resort on June 1, tee time to be announced, and you can register at wvcancerfoundation.org. And again, it is an activity that raises money to help people battling cancer and their families. I mean, it could be a tank of gas, it could be food, it could be rent, a variety of different needs that people need to have addressed when they're battling and fighting cancer. So be involved in that. Camp Westwind, you've been there a number of times.
Yeah, Camp Westwind out there on the Salmon River Estuary. They're going to be having an Earth Day event. It's April 20th.
April 20th, 10 to 3. Yep.
Yeah, and it's really just an amazing opportunity to get out and see that space. We're going to actually be out there helping with the grand opening of the Raindrop to Sea Trail, which we have done with our educational field experiences, too.
And when will that be?
On the 20th of April.
On the 20th?
Same day, yep.
Okay. And the trail is a brand new trail, correct?
Yeah, it was cut just this last year, and the first kids were on it just in the fall. It was just fabulous.
Very good. That'll do it to the doings on the Double R Show. Please remember to like, subscribe, share so you and your family and friends around the world and across the street can join us on the Double R Show. For Paul and Jenna, I am Double R. Have yourself a happy day.
You've been listening to The Double R Show. Join Roger and Paul Robertson as they explore everything about North Lincoln County. The Double R Show, produced by Always Productions and hosted by Roger Robertson. Have a story? Email contact@alwaysproductions.com or call 458-201-3039. For The Double R Show, I'm Jana Grawn.